Beyond the Junkyard. Alrighty, how is it, everybody? We are live here on the Beyond the Junkyard podcast. It's been a week, everybody. I am your host, Junkyard James. That is my guy, KDAWG. How's it been, my friend? And it looks like maybe he or I or somebody is gonna have an internet problem. Let's see. Hey, look, it always happens. How's it going, my friend?
We are hanging in there. Not a good enough, I guess, for the past couple of weeks. What we had last week with the draft. What were the outcomes? Who liked whose draft more? Do we have
I ran that poll on the X page, and the results came back 50-50 exactly. So
interesting.
I think each team had a weird strategy there on how they wanted to draft, but we're pushing back into our regularly scheduled content here, and we're going to recap some AEW content as we lead towards Double or Nothing next week, next Sunday. It's amazing how quick time goes. Double or Nothing's here. Memorial Day weekend's almost here, and crazy how fast time goes when you're having fun, right, guys? Before we jump into,
how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right. Started a new job this week, new day job. Going through the training there, and doing pretty good, my friend. Doing pretty good. Just got a couple small housekeeping things. You see the website on the bottom left-hand corner, junkyardmediagroup.com. That is your one-stop shop for everything Junkyard Media Group, Beyond the Junkyard podcast, Slapping Meat Wrestling podcast, which, by the way, DJ Wavy D put on a fantastic Tuesday show by himself on Tuesday. Not sure where the other meat slapper was, but great episode on Tuesday for DJ Wavy D. And I think We Too Deep put out his episode this morning, his own solo show as well. I haven't listened to it yet, so I don't know how it is, how bad, how good it is. But yeah, all of that can be found on junkyardmediagroup.com. The Discord page, all of our other social media pages can be found there. And I want to give a unique shout out to a awesome person on Twitter that created these awesome bracelets right here. This says King of Bums and Scapegoat. Her name is, let me pull it up so I don't butcher it. Her name's Tori, but her Twitter page is at Fight Milk for All, and her website is allelitebracelets.etsy.com. Pick you up some of these and support an AEW fan. Pretty cool. They're not that expensive, and it helps support a local small town AEW fan. Yeah. Anyways, let's jump straight in to the content. And I want to jump in before we get into AEW. We haven't done it in a couple weeks, so I want to bring it back. Our push, our bench, and our fire. And we got a good matchup this week. So let's jump into push, bench, fire. I know I'm in a better place. So we haven't done one for the female wrestlers here in quite some time. So I was looking at some up-and-coming female wrestlers, and I came up with 3 pretty good ones. And so let's go through them. Push, bench, fire. Jade Cargill, Queen Aminata, and Kelani Jordan. I will let you go first, my friend.
I am going to fire Kalani Jordan because I don't know enough about her. And I'm going to bench Queen Aminata and push Jade Cargill. And Queen Aminata is a very, very, very talented wrestler. Has shown me a lot, showing me that she is very solid in the ring, does all the little things right, tells a pretty good story in the ring. Needs some more work on the character development side of things. That's why I figured to bench her. Jade can be the total package and can be the face of any women's division at any time in any company. The problem is she's got to learn more than 4 moves, and she's got to get better on the mic, develop a little bit stronger charisma. Kind of the same issues that she had in AEW, and this is why I felt she should have been in NXT and went there first besides the main roster. But here we are. She just needs it's almost like if you're in the middle of the first round of an NFL draft and you have this freak athlete that just started playing football 3 years ago, and they have such raw athletic ability and they show flashes on tape, but you just got to mold them into this really good piece of clay that just needs a little bit of grooming, a little bit of time, and eventually can become the star. And that's what Jade Cargill is. If she can just learn from the best, do ample amount of training, work her way up, and I'm talking from an in-ring side of things, vignettes, promos, working the crowd, all that, working to tell a good story. Once you get all that, then she could be the face of the women's division and honestly could be one of the top stars in pro wrestling in the world and potentially in history. That would be who I would push bench fire and why.
So we agree on one spot. The other 2 I disagree with you on. I'm going to fire Jade Cargill. This is why. This is why I'm firing Jade Cargill. And the reason is essentially for the same reason you said. She is so naturally gifted with talent, but she's been given a top spot in AEW or some form of top spot in AEW, and she's been pushed to the moon in WWE through their Performance Center program. Everybody loves to talk about WWE and how AEW needs a Performance Center because they just build great talent at the WWE Performance Center, and yet Jade Cargill, to me, is nothing more special than she was in AEW. She has the it. She has the it. I just don't know if it's ever going to be there. And for that reason, I have to fire her. Because the other 2, I know for a fact it'll get there at some point. I'm a bench Queen Aminata simply because Queen Aminata is awesome. I love her. Her stuff in ROH. I think she's about to start teaming up with Red Velvet and going after Athena and Billy Starks, and she hasn't had a lot of story progression, but she has the talent, and with the small storylines that she's done really well, and I know that she's going to be able to progress into a bigger talented role. And then Kalani Jordan, I think, is the future of the NXT and WWE women's locker room. The stuff that I've seen of Kalani Jordan she just is absolutely fantastic. Look, when NXT finds a talent, they know how to utilize it, especially in the women's division. And I think Kalani Jordan will be the next talent that comes out of the NXT women's program. Eventually, we'll see Fallon Henley and Roxanne Perez and some of the top-notch NXT talent get called up to the main roster. And then you'll see the people like Sol Ruka and Kalani Jordan, who I think are the next two in line, be able to fill the gap and do just as well as some of these other ones. I love Kalani Jordan. I think the future is bright. And she's super athletic, and she just fits a really good style and will probably be one of the best women's wrestlers in WWE in a few years. So I'm going to push her because she just has it. When you're thinking about it's Kalani Jordan for me out of the three. And that's where we go there with Push, Bench, Fire. Let us know in the comments. Let us know in the Discord. What do you think? Who are you pushing? Who are you benching? And who are you firing between the three? Maybe we'll read some live on air. But let's talk about AEW. We haven't talked about, spend a deep conversation talking about AEW in a couple weeks. Man, the storytelling has been really good the last couple weeks on Dynamite. The numbers haven't gotten there yet in terms of viewership. The number was absolutely pitiful this week, but I guess with all the playoff games and everything, it's hard to beat the number where they're at. Still, we took a step backwards in terms of viewership this week, but that doesn't mean the stories were terrible, because man, we've got really good storylines. Any major things you want to talk about this week's Dynamite or the last couple weeks of Dynamite leading up to Double or Nothing?
I think they have done a really good job at trying to emphasize and dive deeper into the storylines going into Double or Nothing. I don't think that they had the best lineup for Dynamite last night, and I think that's what factored into, and as well as the playoff games, both across the NBA and the NHL. That's probably what compromised the rating this week. But I still thought it was a very good show overall. The quality of the show was very good. I just think that's probably what hindered them to grow the audience and grow the number up. Right. But no, I definitely agree with you. I thought that the storyline advancement for this week, it paid dividends really well. Great return at the end that I wasn't expecting.
Absolutely.
And gave us a really strong showing into not only next week, but also leading into Double or Nothing in just a couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the coolest story out of all of the stories that they're pushing, which I believe now they're pushing this as a triple main event between the Anarchy in the Arena, Swerve and Christian Cage and Mercedes and Willow, triple main event. I wonder what the actual card will be, who's first in the triple main event, who's second, who's last. You got to think Mercedes gets the actual main event time. This is her debut match, all spotlights on her. But the storyline with Christian Cage and Swerve Strickland, it's so personal, but yet not personal at the same time, if that makes any sense. I don't know, the fact that Swerve went to Seattle and bloodied Nick Wayne just several months ago, and now Swerve is left bloodied in the ring by Christian Cage and Nick Wayne in Washington last night. It's just, for the people that talk about AEW not being able to tell a long-term story, this pay-per-view is the proof that they can, and that's what I love about it so much. Even with unfortunately with Eddie Kingston going down this past weekend at the New Japan show, which I don't know if you've seen that injury. It was pretty nasty what happened to his knee. Yeah. And I hope Eddie heals up. I love Eddie Kingston. But, Darby Allin comes back, and everyone's like, who's going to replace it? And, of course, it's Darby Allin. Why not? The dude can get hit by a bus and come back in a month, break his foot, whatever. But, of course, it's Darby Allin because he still has beef with the Young Bucks. And so I think it's just a perfect way to finish some of the stories, create new stories. The story with Mercedes and Willow, this was a storytelling episode last night, and it wasn't so much about the in-ring product, because I agree with you, the in-ring matchups were not great. Some of the matches were kind of they didn't feel well. The main event though with Dax and Okada was absolutely phenomenal, but it was a weaker matchup card. I wonder though, had they not wanted to go with the surprise effect of Darby Allin, had they announced it earlier, if that would have helped viewership any. But I don't know. They got a pretty decent overrun, 10 minutes I think. And so obviously the Warner Brothers team isn't too concerned about the viewership if they keep giving these extended overruns, but I'm excited for next week and seeing the final Dynamite. I'm excited for Collision. I'm sure I've missed a couple things. Anything else outside of that you want to go into?
No, a couple things. I think that we're getting close to an announcement of some sort of the new TV deal with AEW. And I think the new announcement that was kind of brought up last night on Dynamite, that there's going to be kind of a new feature on TBS's YouTube channel that's going to feature Renee Paquette and RJ City every week. I think it's every Friday, maybe every Wednesday. I'm not 100% sure what day it was. I just know that one episode is up with Eddie Kingston. Go figure. They're doing the match and a meal, kind of similar to a table for three, except they're going over a single match, I believe, if I catch the synopsis of that show right. Maybe a couple matches, something like that. But they're doing it on TBS's official YouTube channel, so that should indicate that not only are talks going well, I think, with Warner Brothers Discovery and AEW, I think there was also a press release pointed out that the exclusive window for AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery to extend their current contract or re-sign AEW, that window got extended. So the exclusive window between those two. So I think that's a good sign that we're leading towards an eventual extension of the contract between Warner Brothers Discovery and AEW. Maybe they should call it Warner Mothers and Brothers. Who knows? Can't have brothers without mothers. Anyways, and I think that maybe the biggest hurdle, I don't know this for sure, I'm not a reporter, I don't know this is just pure speculation on my part, is I feel AEW really wants a streaming platform on Max. I think the biggest thing that might be a hurdle for AEW is how much of the revenue is coming in from Fight, from Triller, from YouTube now, BR. That's going to be the tough part, is can AEW, and I think maybe Warner Brothers wants to do all the things on Max, but I wonder if AEW is holding them up a little bit with saying, yeah, I know, but listen, we got great revenue coming in with the pay-per-views. We're hitting 100,000 buys every single pay-per-view so far still. And that adds up, especially in the Americas. They're $50, $60 pay-per-view. I'm not sure how much they are internationally, but I know at least here in the States, they're a pretty penny. So that might be a source of revenue that AEW is looking to do as well, that maybe if they put their streaming platform on Max, that they're going to probably raise the price of Max per month. And that might be something that's also leading into that negotiation table of the ad revenue side of it, but also the Warner Brothers side of it, of if we higher the price of Max, How many people are actually going to sign up?
Didn't Max announce that they were partnering with, was it Hulu or Disney or someone, that they were creating their own, like a package deal with for, and so
wasn't it Fox Sports and ESPN? Or that's a separate deal?
So I think that's a separate deal. I think Fox,
ESPN,
Amazon, there was
ABC.
ABC, and so Disney, ESPN, all of them, they were going to have their major sports stuff, like a sports exclusive package. But I think there was something announced last week. I can't remember, but it was Max and Hulu, or Max and one of the other streaming sites.
I want to say it was Hulu, because I've seen a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
I think
where they were
Max and whatnot,
where they were planning on creating a package deal, and so eventually streaming overall is going to be the place. Cable, satellite, all of that stuff is eventually going to, that's how it's going to go. Basic channels turned into DirecTV, which now is going to turn into streaming. It's just the way with technology. And so you got to think Warner, especially if the rumors are true and NBC won the NBA rights, Warner's going, they have additional money that they can throw towards something. And they're not going to want to lose NBA and AEW, because that's a lot of their content at one time being kicked off of their network. And so you got to think maybe they throw a little bit of extra money towards AEW. I think you're spot on with the streaming idea, simply because I think Sean Ross Sapp had something out on his subscriber page for Fightful, that's part of the negotiations, is how can we fit Max into the equation. And I think we're closer to a deal than everybody thinks, especially with the idea that, again, NBC, if NBC's winning the NBA coverage, they're not going to, be in the market for anything else. So you can kick NBC out of fighting for AEW. I don't think Fox wants to leave the SmackDown deal and go straight to another wrestling contract. I think Fox realized, wrestling did decent ratings, but we lose a little bit of money. We lost a lot of money on the WWE deal with SmackDown, and let's focus on recouping that money before we jump into another live sport. Let's focus on football. Let's focus on something else. And I think Warner Bros. Is just the only place that makes sense for AEW, because they've already put the infrastructure in place. I think that's the biggest hurdle, is getting Max included in AEW, and maybe creating the library, or putting ROH on Max, or something like that, where it might be the biggest hurdle that we have to overcome. But it is certainly a good sign that the exclusive window was extended, I think, to the end of July, I think is when they pushed it out. And so hopefully by Forbidden Door, or you would hopefully love for them to be able to announce at AllIn Wembley, their biggest show of the year, that they have a new TV deal. I think that would be the perfect time to announce the new deal. I think their current deal ends December 31st, right?
I believe so, yeah.
And so there we go. I think if we can say on Wembley, hey, 80, or they're not going to have 80,000 fans, or what, 60,000, 40,000? I don't know how many tickets have been sold currently. You're bigger on the tickets than I am, but we have this many.
I think they're right at 40 right now. In general, yes.
Gotcha. Yeah, so announce the attendance. Hey, we had 60,000 people in attendance. Oh, and by the way, we have a new TV deal. It is including streaming. So we can do a live show on TNT or TBS or wherever they want to do it. And then it's also streamed live on Max, or next day on Max, or whatever they can do. That can be an international thing. especially with them. I think another thing, people started talking bad about Bischoff and all them, talking bad about AEW losing the zone or DAZN or however you say it internationally, DAZN. I don't know how you pronounce it, but they lost that subscription-based service a couple weeks ago. I think that's just an indication that they're ready to complete a new TV deal with Warner and expand into an international market. I think in Canada, the work with TSN has been pretty decent from what I can tell. Maybe they continue there, but if we can push this internationally towards a streaming platform, I think that's the bigger thing for AEW, but also as well with their pay-per-views, if they can make it a Max only thing, I'll pay $20 a month for Max if I can get all my AEW content and don't have to pay $50 a month for a pay-per-view. I only pay $20 a month for everything.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. To piggyback off the DAZN, I think it is, whatever it is, DAZN. If you read that press release, which I doubt Eric Bischoff did because I don't think he knows how to read. It's amazing how he wrote a book, but anyways, or a couple of them. That deal that got canceled was only for 4 or 5 different markets: Turkey, Bangladesh, I think Hungary was one of them, Belarus. Like it's countries that really, really are hotbeds for wrestling. I mean, let me tell you, I can't tell you the fan base that's rabid over there in Turkey.
Right.
The Turkey Wrestling Federation is so huge. So yeah, it's not like it's affecting the UK or Italy or Spain or Germany or some of these other hotbeds for wrestling in Europe. It's a latter portion that probably they're not getting a whole lot of revenue from anyways.
Right.
So go ahead and cut your losses while you're there, so you don't have to worry about it. But yeah, I think they're eventually going to lead to that full service type of platform. I wish we had whatever, I think it's the AW Plus app or something that they have over internationally. I wish we had that over here,
yeah.
but maybe we're getting closer to that, hopefully happening soon. But yeah, I think overall they're nearing that. It would be very cool. I don't know if I would announce it at Rumbly. You might want to announce that either at All Out the next week or maybe at Forbidden Door. Just because you're in a different country, it probably wouldn't make much sense. And then they don't have.
Right.
I'm not 100% sure, but I just feel like maybe because it's a North American-based promotion, let's maybe wait until it's a North American show to do that.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But yeah, the other thing I was just going to mention was just another news and notes from Dynamite last night. Intriguing storylines all around. The Christian Swerve storyline is really got me engaged to really caring about that match at Double or Nothing. I'm interested to see Ospreay and Roderick Strong, even though I don't feel like it's going to be one of the best matches on the card. And I'm still very interested in that. Willow did a great job with the promo. Mercedes is playing a perfect tweener, but more so leaning towards the heel thing. She went through a table last night, so that was great to see that she can take a bump. Like you said, Dax and Okada had a really strong match. The Darby coming out makes perfect sense to plug him in there, and it makes perfect sense. So that's going to be a great addition to the card. I think it's a better. I want to say that it's a better person than Eddie was, but obviously when you think of Darby Allin, you think of him jumping off the top of a cage and things like that. So we're going to see probably a nasty spot.
Going through glass.
Yeah, so it's gonna make you look forward to something like that, to see what in the hell is gonna happen next.
Right.
The Tony Storm storyline, it's mainly all Tony Storm, and it's I honestly think that Tony Storm is this is gonna maybe be a hot take. Tony Storm right now is the best overall professional wrestler in the world, and I'm talking from an in-ring standpoint, to a character standpoint, to a promo standpoint, to a storytelling standpoint. She's the entire package right now. That makes me believe just about every storyline that she's in Will Ospreay is very close to that as well. I don't really know what character he is, Ospreay, besides a badass and a really good wrestler. Maybe that's what it is. But when you take such a vanilla, bland, dull that Serena Deeb is, and you somehow make Toni Storm, or not somehow, but somehow Toni Storm has made me care a little bit about that match.
Yeah.
If this was Chris Statlander versus Serena Deeb, kudos to Statlander for being a really good talent. It would be the piss break match of the night, and this probably still will be that. But because of Toni's charisma and entertaining value that she brings,
well, no, I think the Jericho match is still going to be the piss break match of the night.
Well, yeah, that's a good point too. But just from the overall standpoint, it's amazing how Toni Storm has just continuously evolved and made this character still so over and important, and fans are engaged with it still. In my opinion, she cannot go back to any other character.
Yeah.
She has to be this character almost for the entirety of her career, which may be hard to do, but this character just fits her so well. She's run with it and has just done such an impressive job with it from beginning to right now. Her match with Harley Cameron actually wasn't that bad.
I was going to mention that.
Yeah.
Harley Cameron has really
her second match
me
on AEW television.
So I think it's her fourth match. Yeah, I think it's her fourth match in AEW total, but second in front of a live crowd. She had a few matches back when they still did Dark and Dark Elevation. She had a couple matches, I believe. But then she was mostly used as like the valet for QTV. And now, last week against Mariah May, I think it was, or Anna Jay. I can't remember who she fought. She looked really impressive. And last night, she looked really good. Like, I think Harley Cameron it looked like she could do, like, if she just had more time in the ring, she maybe can push her way up the chart a little bit. I'm not a big fan of her tag teaming with Saraya, but that's just another topic for another day. But I think Harley Cameron, like, I was super impressed by that match. I'm super impressed with Harley Cameron and how much she's been able to grow in such a short period of time actually doing this professional wrestling thing. Like, I think her career before she signed with AEW, she was like a singer or some sort outside, like an entertainer. She hasn't been in wrestling long, and for her to put on a pretty decent match, there were a few parts where it was a little sloppy, but like, that's come to be expected for someone with only 2 matches in front of a live crowd. So, like, yeah, I mean, I was really impressed with that match.
Yeah, no, I agree. I still find it funny that she's using I think she's using Soraya's theme, the Zombie Fire
and the Outcast
song,
music,
and yet Soraya's not out there. So, I don't know where that whole thing is going. Obviously, the whole whatever beef her or Saraya and Toni and Harley had, they're not going to be able to do that with Ruby being pregnant. But I wonder what can come out of that with Harley wrestling a little bit more, and Saraya still being around. What can happen with that? But yeah, no, I'm glad that you had kind of the same thought process, because I thought it was actually very impressive to see that she's actually not that bad. Obviously, she's got room to grow, but it's good to see that yet more talent in the women's division is still growing, but getting better each and every week. So that's a really positive sign for sure. Kind of reading what DJ Waverty said in the comments relating to the DAZN deal with it being for 42 countries. All right, so I was off by 38 countries, but mainly all those in Europe, if I'm not mistaken. Going through kind of some of the comments that I've been reading online as it comes to the DAZN deal. Apparently their service is really unreliable. They're overpriced. Their customer service is non-existent. Apparently this person and a lot of others were stuck in a 12-month contract with him that they won't cancel, but literally none of what they want to watch is functional, and most of the service doesn't function at all. So it's more so a positive thing that AEW got out of that deal, or DAZN dropped them, whoever it was. It seemed like most of those people were trying to get that use DAZN were going over to Fight anyways, or any other form that they could watch the pay-per-views. Evidently was more so DAZN is just not very good. So
the original deal included Dynamite, Rampage, Dark and Dark Elevation, Battle of the Belts, and 4 pay-per-views a year was the original deal that was made in 2023. Well, they no longer do Dark. They no longer do Dark Elevation. Battle of the Belts and Dynamite and Rampage. If you're in that area, like I think you can still watch it on like the local TV just a couple days later. And then the pay-per-views, like everyone was saying, everyone was using Triller or Fight or whatever it's called internationally. I think this is a win for AEW. Like, why? I think the deal was only for like $100,000 or $200,000. You're not losing a whole ton of money with this deal being gone, and I think that the money that you lose from this deal, you gain back with the next TV extension with Warner Bros.
Right, and I was going to say, I would assume that most of the servicing that they were getting from pay-per-views internationally was not coming from DAZN at all. More than likely, it was coming from Fight or any other form of international IPP TV or whatever it is in some of the European countries. But it seemed like it was more so a better deal for AEW to get out of it, so that way they can just use a couple other platforms that better service those folks overseas.
I do like this question. I was going to keep it for the Q&A at the end because we don't have any or many questions. If you have any additional questions you want us to answer towards the end of the show, leave them in the chat. Maybe we'll get to them. But let's talk about this one now. Are there any nerves about AEW being lowballed and having other options? No, I don't think so. I don't think there's any nerves.
Oh, go ahead.
You can go ahead.
I know. I agree. I think AEW probably has other options that are lower. Mm-hmm. That more so it's a channel, AEW taking a risk on that channel and hopefully growing their audience. Maybe more like an Impact Wrestling whenever they went to Destination America or Pop TV. But I think AEW just has I think their negotiation is still going very well with Warner Brothers Discovery, and there's just maybe a couple things that need to iron out as far as a detailed perspective that this deal will be pretty complete and it's going to favor both parties equally. And I'm sure there are lowballer amounts out there, and that's more so because just about every television company around wants some form of live television. That's
even Netflix is getting into the live TV game.
Exactly, and that's because Netflix was getting their asses kicked with everything. Just using, original TV shows, which are great. Stranger Things, that's getting ready to come to an end. As far as I know, they've only got a couple other things that are on there that are still original, TV shows that they're still producing, and it's helping them. But after that, when Stranger Things come out, when Wednesday comes out, and some of these other shows, binge watches it for a week. And then after you watch them, now you have to wait a whole other year for those TV shows to come out. Right. Whereas Prime, same thing, but they're also tapping into the live sports industry. So they're getting content now a lot more. Same with Apple TV when they have the MLS and the MLB onto it, even though I don't have Apple TV, but still. Now, Netflix basically had to do that, and now they're broadening their horizons when it comes to that.
Right, and you look at like Amazon Prime, they're expanding their live TV into like the NASCAR market and more NFL. And so, yeah, live TV is the big thing. It's cheaper to produce, and you get the instant feedback. You don't have to sit for a year and edit and hope to God that somebody's going to watch it. You get the instantaneous, the next day feedback on how many people watched that show.
in its original television programming too, which is very rare and exclusive to everybody these days. So TV markets want it. That's why Netflix gave WWE billions of dollars for that for Raw. It whether or not I love the product, there's a reason why people are, companies are getting these kind of deals, because live television is needed. So
right. So I guess some clarification on his question. Do you have any nerves that Warner Brother will lowball them, especially? I don't think so. I think Warner Brothers, they see how valuable AEW is outside of the NBA and NHL playoffs. AEW finished 6th overall, but the 5 other shows last night were NBA or NHL playoff games. So I don't think it's necessarily about a dollar amount. They're getting, I think they're getting like at least $1 billion contract over, and like a 5 or 6 year deal. Like this is going to be a super long-term deal with AEW and Warner Bros. And it's going to include Max, and it's the only reason it makes sense that AEW was preemptively expanding their pay-per-view calendar. You don't just go to 12 from 4 pay-per-views or 6 pay-per-views to 10 to 12 year over year if you don't have some sort of plan of getting bang for your buck. And I think these talks are going in the direction of, like, everyone's thinking, oh, Warner Brothers is just going to throw this lowball deal. They just lost NBA. They need live content on their show. They're not going to lowball and risk losing AEW and NBA, and all they have left is the NHL, which, to be completely honest, I have a feeling when that contract's up, they're going to lose it to ESPN. Because ESPN's getting a lot of the major playoff series for the NHL this year. And so Warner Brothers, if they were smart, they would lock AEW in and give AEW what AEW wants. And it might cost them a lot of money up front, but I think the return on the investment will be worth it, especially with the risk of losing in the NHL deal when that is done, and the fact that they are losing the NBA deal at the end of the season. So
I think that, well, first of all, I'll need to look at the numbers as to what the original deal was for, and when they signed the extension, what that was for, before I even give a specific dollar amount. I think $1 billion could be it. For some reason, I don't think it'll be in the $1 billion range. I think it'll be in the high 9 figures. It's 500, 750, because I think that their deal was only worth $120 million, maybe. 150. Fact check me on that before I really make an assumption of that. But depending on what the original amount was and what the extension deal was, you're definitely going up. It's just a matter of how much. But also when you're factoring the Max deal,
so their last
and you're
deal,
splitting the ad revenue between them.
Their last deal was a 4-year, $175 million contract.
And that was the extension from 2020, correct?
Yeah, January 2020.
Yeah, because it ends this year. So that's why I don't think it'll be $1 billion yet. I think we're going to get into the 750, 800, maybe $850 million range. And the reason why I say that, and I think it'll be another 4 or 5 year deal. The reason why I say that is because now with AEW going to be putting on to Max, the ad revenue from Max, as well as any service streams that they're getting from Warner Brothers that are on these servicing streaming platforms,
and the boatload of subscriptions they're going to get.
Right. So I think that it's going to be a deal that's going to favor Max and AEW. AEW is going to get the cash from Warner Brothers Discovery. That's going to help their ad revenue for sure and help the revenue stream go up. At the same time, Warner Brothers Discovery, so they want to make sure that they're not going to give, while they do need to throw out cash to get some return on investment, to get some more original content. Once you're also putting AEW and their library on Max, potentially ROH, you want to make sure that obviously the business as well is going to profit from that too. So the splitting of that share from that is probably going to factor into the deal as well. That's why I think it may stay under $1 billion. If it does get to $1 billion, that'd be great. I'll eat crow. Another thing is that
I guess I'll clarify. I think it'll be $1 billion, but I also think it's going to include AEW is going to have to produce more content. It's not just going to be the live show. I think you're going to get the reality show. I think that, what was that, AEW behind the scenes? All Access. I think that'll come back out. I think you have this thing with Renee and RJ City that they're doing. I think that there could be, more content.
You're going to see some cross-pollination with wrestlers on TV shows and sports shows like Mercedes Moné and maybe Adam Copeland, a few other guys.
I think that the Warner Brothers is going to want them to come up with some form of partnership with, like, maybe another video game or a mobile game or some other access of content. Like, Warner Brothers isn't just going to throw $850 to $1 billion at you and then you're just going to keep the same content. They're going to require more content. I think they may, like Johnny Loves Taya, I think they're trying that now on the AEW YouTube channel. I think there's a possibility that goes straight to Max. And so the content there will have to increase, but because of the additional content that AEW is going to have to produce, they're just going to give them a bigger amount of money. If it was just the wrestling, they probably get 500 to 600 million, I would say.
No, I totally agree with you that another reason why I also think that Warner Brothers Discovery is not going to throw out that number as well, that the billion plus. I don't remember the number figure, and that's on me for not probably having this all typed up and looked at. Warner Brothers is also getting 5 or 6 NASCAR races in the summer of next year.
Right.
So they're losing the NBA, but they are gaining a little bit of sports in the summertime with NASCAR. And I'm sure they threw a decent amount of cash towards NASCAR for those TV rights because I think they're splitting that 10 race kind of in the midsummer between Prime and Warner Brothers Discovery. So WBD throws some cash at NASCAR for that. But still, if you're losing the NBA, you're only getting 5 or 6 races in the summertime. Sure, you have the NHL in the fall and the winter, but you still need that yearly content, and that's obviously where AEW comes in. The content will definitely have to increase, but they're going to get a large sum of cash for sure. It's not going to be a low mother deal whatsoever.
I'm trying to look this up here. Total deal was worth $7.7 billion, but that's for everybody. I don't know if they broke down the.
I wouldn't say that they broke that down evenly from all the streaming platforms either.
Financial terms have not been disclosed. Yeah,
so let's say Fox and NBC definitely threw the most because you're getting the majority of the coverage. Amazon and Prime.
And I would say the CW as well, because the CW is getting
all the Xfinity races. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Fox is getting all the Truck Series races throughout the entire year, and 15 races now. Kind of the non-points races are getting the Clash. And I think they're getting the All-Star race. But then it's when it switches over to Prime, starting with the Cup 600, and then switches to TNT after those 5 races. And then after that, NBC takes it for the rest of the year. But yeah, no, I still think the WBD is going to pay a pretty penny for AEW, and it's not going to be a low bother deal at all. I'd be heavily surprised if it was anything other than under $700 million. 800 to a billion, 800 million to a billion sounds about right for me.
Right. So it looks like NASCAR, Warner Brothers got 5 cup races, and then like all of the practices and
qualifying practices, which helps a lot.
Right. So yeah, I'm sure they paid a pretty big penny to get that.
For sure. But yeah. Good question, though.
Yeah. I was going to mention something, but I completely lost what I was thinking. That was a good question. I think it's interesting to see where this goes. While I was doing some of that research, it looks like the plan is they want to announce it sometime before the beginning of fall 2024. So I think the AllIn Wembley or the All Out in Chicago could be a pretty decent stopping point. Like, let's get the deal done before then. But I think it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. And obviously, if a deal gets made, we'll talk about it on the podcast here. There was one question in the Discord. I think it's going to be a pretty easy question to answer. Wavy D asked if we've been following the King and Queen of the Ring tournament. No.
No, not really. Once I saw the main event for what that pay-per-view is going to be in Saudi Arabia, I laughed and I haven't watched anything since.
Yeah. Yeah. No other questions. Next week, obviously, we'll do our.
I do have.
Go ahead.
I will say another quick thing. Maybe this is kind of a question, but a really cool observation that got released today is that on the road to Wembley and AllIn, AEW is doing, I believe, 7 shows in the esports arena outside of Dallas, Texas, which apparently is the largest esports arena in the world, or at least in the United States. They're doing a bunch of collisions, and I believe that they're doing the Death Before Dishonor ROH pay-per-view in that as well. I don't know the capacity of the seating for that. Just looking at some of the images online, it looks very interesting of how they're going to be able to set that up for a wrestling show. It honestly looks like it's going to be set up for almost like an NXT type of arena, NXT type of show, Impact Wrestling type of show. I think that's a really, really smart deal from AEW to not only tap into that video game world that have a lot of wrestlers that do content for that kind of stuff anyway, so that could help maybe bring in some of those video game type people and crowd. But I'm sure there's going to be some sort of deal that they could do if you want to get all 6 shows, if, however that's going to work. I believe all events are going to be ticketed and need to be sold. So it's not just going to be hey, you can come in for free. And I think it's a smart way to rent that out for about 2 or 3 weeks versus having to go to different shows and use different arenas. Their attendances have been wishy-washy, whether that's due to the marketing, whether that's due to the area they're in. Some of these locations are kind of outside major cities, it seems like, with Everett last night. They're going to be in Palm Springs or Palm Desert, California, the Acrisure Arena, which apparently that doesn't look like a very well sold show at the moment. And I think the reason why is because that is predominantly people who live there are between 50 and 70, not younger crowd. So maybe a harder show to sell. They do have some other really big shows coming up. LA is one for sure. And I know they're going back to Colorado again, but that is a really good way to just, you know what, let's just use this arena while we're leading up to Wembley. Let's cut our costs a little bit instead of doing these bigger arenas. Obviously, they're not filling up more than about half at some points, 30% at some others. Maximize the revenue from actually selling it or renting the space out for 2 weeks, but we're selling tickets for every show leading up to Wembley. It's going to cost less for travel-wise because most wrestlers can just fly in and out, stay there for a couple of weeks, whatever. Less wear and tear on their bodies because preparing themselves to go to London for about 4 or 5 days. So I think it's a really smart deal. I'm interested to see what the setup is going to look like, how much tickets will be sold, and hope for really strong crowds for those markets and see what's there.
Gotcha. Yeah. Couple questions here. Wavy D just threw in. First one here. Do you think Darby is really cleared or pushing himself? I'm sure he's not 100% healed from a broken foot and getting hit by a bus. But that's just so hilarious that I have to, that's something that we can say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think he's 100% healthy, but it's Darby Allin. And so I don't think AEW would allow him to wrestle if he wasn't able to wrestle.
Especially after all the hoopla that they got after the Matt Hardy situation with Sammy Guevara at Double or Nothing a couple of years years ago. Some of the other injuries that may have occurred that wrestlers kept going through, that AEW got shade for that. I don't think that they would truly do that again. I hope they would learn their lesson from that. But I'll say, I'm not sure when Darby Allin is ever 100%.
Right.
Let's go ahead and get that out of the way. Whatever Darby Allin's 100% is probably not everybody else's 100%.
Right.
That he'll be just fine. He will continue doing the crazy stunts, and it's Darby Allin. That's all I can say.
And his last question was our thoughts on the video that Tiffany Stratton uploaded, but I need to watch the video first before I really comment on it. Apparently, she's catching a lot of flack. We'll get back. I'll get back on that. We'll probably talk about it in the Discord. I don't really.
We'll bring it up next week as well, because I'm not 100% sure on what happened with that either.
Right. And so, yeah, that's a good transition there to end the show there. Talk about the Discord. Join the Discord. I posted the link in the Twitter post that I made promoting the YouTube video as well. So you can click that, or you can go to junkyardmediagroup.com, click the link there, click the link to all of our social media pages on the Junkyard Media Group site. But other than that, unless you have any last words, I think we're all good for the day.
I want to thank Senator Daines from Montana for trying to give the Commanders their logo back. I don't think we're ever going to the Redskins again, but if we can use the logo again, that'd be great. However, I don't want you to block us going to RFK, because we really need a stadium, like badly. We might be having to play in a high school at this point. But yeah, hey, let's get our logo back. What we call the Natives, or the Warriors, or the Braves, or the Potomacs, whatever. Just can we get the logo back? Get new jerseys, rebrand again, Warriors, anything. Anyways, no, wrestling wise, I am good. Even though it wasn't a lot of stuff that we went over, we kind of did. So I thought it was a good show, and yeah.
Absolutely. Next week, obviously, is the lead up to the Double or Nothing pay-per-view. So we will do a preview of that
prediction time again.
It's time. We're gonna see if he can keep his hot streak going.
Keep the hot streak going.
And we'll do some predictions and talk a little bit about the Dynamite before Double or Nothing. Yeah, man, and it's going to be a good show next week. Make sure to tune in, share, like, comment, subscribe, follow us on all of the social medias, leave us a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
If you want to be the first guest on Stump KDAWG, let us know.
Absolutely. Let's stump KDAWG. I think we'll if we get a volunteer, that should be the first episode after Double or Nothing. Is
fair enough.
Introduce some Stump KDAWG in there. But yeah, let's get that going, and I'll have to make sure my quiz is hard. So give me some time to create a hard quiz. And until then, guys, we'll see you next Thursday for our Double or Nothing prediction.